because you made a guitar, didn't you, sir?
I certainly did.
And
right here.
It is in front of you there. There it is. So you
actually
completely made this guitar.
I certainly did. Summer before last, summer 2018, I did a 3-month kind of residential guitar building course, a lute theory course, down in Totnes. That was at the Totnes School of Guitar Making, and we basically built guitars by hand from scratch, regardless of what guitar building or maintenance or woodworking skills or previous experience you had. And it was an absolutely awesome experience, and I thoroughly enjoyed every minute of the time I spent there. It was great. I didn't know what I wanted to build when I went down there. I didn't know if I wanted to do a guitar or a bass, if I wanted to do 6-string, 7-string guitar, or 4-5 bass, or whatever. And again, I think adopting that kind of open mindset thing, I just started looking through the various reference books at the workshop and thinking, that looks quite nice. And the idea came that it was going to be a guitar and it was going to be 6 strings. And I looked at a bunch of reference material and some technical schematics that the head tutor Phil had there, and basically kind of traced the bottom part of it was the bum of a fender strap, which I then added a point to, and then I basically freehand drew these pointy bits. That kind of gave me a body shape. I mean, it's not exactly revolutionary. It looks like a guitar, but then I wanted something that looked like a guitar, felt like a guitar, and was actually comfortable to play. You mentioned your BC Rich Beast. I think I played some in shops, many years ago. And it was like, it looked great, but it's really uncomfortable because there's pointy bits sticking in my ribs, and like, how the hell do I even hold this thing? So in terms of body shape, I just wanted something standard but my own twist on it. And I'd taken a couple of guitars down of mine that I really liked, one guitar, one bass. I liked certain features of them, so I tried to sort of incorporate playability features into the way the body was rounded and all that kind of stuff that would make it comfortable to play. The headstock is pointy as heck.
It looks incredible. It looks incredible, man. I do like it. It really finishes it. That does.
Yeah, I spent more time on that than on the rest of the guitar, I think. I ended up going with, started looking at knives and blades, and then I went down the Lord of the Rings route, and then ended up taking ideas from Aragorn's Elven Dagger. So that kind of, you've got the sweep and then the little bit at the end. And then ended up sort of going, that looks pretty cool, right? Measure it all out. And so I knew I wanted the strings to be completely straight from nut to the tuning pegs. I didn't want them to fan out. So I had, mathematically work out all the sizes and dimensions and stuff. I knew I wanted the machine heads on the bottom of the headstock rather than the top. So I kind of worked all of that in, got the design, and it looks great, and it's pointy and really dangerous, and I hope I don't accidentally drop it because that's just going to shatter. So yeah,
it is seriously cool. It is really, really cool, mate. It's, when you told me you were doing that course, I thought, wow, what a thing to kind of do. It's like, let's dedicate my time. And I suppose as well, kind of coming into that, I suppose you had to consider the wood you were gonna use and like try and look at how it's going to produce the sound. So it combines almost everything we've been talking about into, you made your own instrument, dude. Like, that is incredible.
Yeah, it was a great experience, and it wasn't necessarily the cheapest, and you have to move, to Totnes and spend 3 months doing it. So it's not something you can just go, I'm going to go and do that this weekend. You have to plan it, and from a logistical point of view, from a financial point of view, from a life, working your life around it kind of point of view. But I had an opportunity to do it, and I'm really glad I did. I met a couple of people down there who. One guy from Belgium who wasn't even on the course. He was just in town at the language school, and we met each other in the pubs watching various open mics and bands and stuff, and we're still in contact to this day. A couple of the guys on the course I still speak to occasionally as well. So it was a really nice life experience. But yeah, to bring the conversation back to wood, because I quite like wood now, as it turns out. I made use of 3 different woods on this. There's quilted maple top, which gives it that lovely ruffled effect. I don't know how much you can see of that on the camera.
I can see it, yeah, I can see it's good.
But yeah, it's got that kind of 3-dimensional look to it. And I wanted it finished, not lacquered and shiny, but I wanted to be able to feel the grain as I ran my fingers over it. So it's like an oil-based finish, which I think looks really nice. It does mean it's prone to scratching, and I can see pick scratches on it. But that shows me that they've actually been used and played, and isn't just some museum piece to be stuck on the wall and never actually make a sound. Because after all, that's what these things are for. And then the actual underneath the body construction is mahogany and flame maple through neck, all then sort of dyed with black to give it that kind of smoky feel. And again, oil finish, so it just feels smooth. It doesn't feel like that sticky, shiny sound you get when you put your hand over a lacquered guitar. And of course, there's nothing wrong with lacquered finish. I just didn't want to see my ugly face reflected back at me
all the time when you'll be trying to flicker it. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I mean, it's great. It's actually not as heavy weight-wise as I was expecting, given that it's mahogany. I think it's actually a fairly light cut of the wood. But what that does do is really bring out the higher notes, the higher frequencies. So in my world of kind of loud, aggressive kind of music, it's great. I put the bare knuckle nail bombs, I think they are, humbucker pickups in there, and they're just aggressive as hell. So the thing just sounds awesome. Ebony fretboard with hand cut Anglo-Saxon rune fret marker characters.
Yeah,
which I'm very pleased with.
I must admit that when Rick saw that, he was like, "Wow." It's really, really cool. It really, really is cool, and it kind of gives it a home as well. This was made in Albion.
Yeah, right. It's I wanted, a lot of people use, certainly in metal, if it's not songs about Vikings and death, it's imagery or rune characters from the Elder Futhark alphabet, the Norse alphabet. Whereas I wanted something that spoke to English history a little bit, so I went down the Anglo-Saxon rune alphabet route, which is of course based on the Norse, but has its own specific character to it. So I wanted a little bit of English history into it as well. Absolutely. So I managed to combine kind of a whole load of geeky subjects in one object,
which is
carefully considered woods, Lord of the Rings influences, guitar stuff, obviously, and English history and linguistics.
And spiky stuff.
Which is never a bad thing.
Absolutely not. I mean, I think it's that, just to me, it just gives you you just know it inside out now. I mean, to actually go through that process, it probably... You think it changed the way you played the guitar in a way? Do you think it influenced any of that? Like, because you now know how that piece of technology is put together, has it changed your outlook on that?
That's an interesting question. I don't know if it's changed the way I play. It might have done, or it might have subconsciously reaffirmed some thoughts that I had about how I play. It's certainly given me a much deeper appreciation of the guitar as a physical object, both in terms of it being a tool, it being a functional thing, and also an aesthetic object, a piece of physical art, if you will, because I find guitars genuinely beautiful things. And now when I buy one or play one in a shop or someone, play somebody else's, I will look at it in a very different light. So, so, they've got binding around the edge of that thing, and, you can tell this is a mass-produced guitar from a factory, and it didn't cost very much because, this doesn't quite line up, and that binding is bigger than that bit. And, you start noticing really small details about stuff that I wouldn't have necessarily noticed before. So it has changed, it's certainly changed a lot of elements of how I look at how I play, how I treat guitars. I think in terms of playing, I guess having an idea, when I pick up an instrument and feel the weight of it and the dimensions, and I might not necessarily get the wood right, especially if it's painted and lacquered and you can't see it. It's like, okay, this is pretty heavy, so and if it's a Gibson, for example, they use a lot of mahogany, so it's like it's probably this kind of body, kind of what tonal qualities it's going to have. It's going to be heavy and thick. It's going to make me then want to set potentially my pedals or my amp a certain way. I might want to pick in a slightly different position on the string to bring out certain tonal qualities. Might also inform me how hard I want to pick to make that happen. So yeah, I hadn't really considered the actual physical playing being influenced by that knowledge. I considered the physical appreciation of it, but yeah, I think he probably has.
Sure, because you understand. Yeah, you're going to understand more. You can understand more of it. It really is incredible. I think it kind of gives a. Just you doing that, it gives a really. It kind of solidifies, obviously, like this what we're talking about with the soundscapey stuff in terms of like actual objects and what sounds. Looking at sounds and putting them into different contexts, and now you've actually gone and spent 3 months learning about reverberations and how pickups kind of work and all that sort of stuff. I think it's quite incredible.